the GOP is at it again. They never stop answering to their owner donors. Take a look at this headline. Campaign cash goes in, late fees come out. Republican lawmakers funded by the credit card industry are fighting to protect the excessive fees companies charge consumers, instead of that being the other way around. So here is what the article states. And thank you again to the Lever for your excellent reporting. Rebecca and Julia, we see you, baby. Credit card companies funneled more than 600,000 during the last election cycle to House Republicans, now fighting to preserve the company's ability to charge excessive late fees. Believe your eyes if you're looking at us right now, and believe your ears if you're just listening to me. Yeah, they are fighting so that the credit card companies can keep overcharging people late fees. Those people live in their states as well, because the last time I checked, there are people with credit cards all over the United States of America. Among the 17 Republicans who sent a letter, I mean, these mofos had a nerve to send a letter to federal regulators this month opposing the Biden administration's effort to rein in the fees. All right, we're gonna give Biden administration a gold star on this one. At least 15 received contributions from the credit card industry in the 2022 election cycle. 3 of the lawmakers are among the top 5 House recipients of campaign cash from the industry. Put Olay up. See, so folks, when you hear us railing against the machine and talking about how it is legal to bribe politicians in the United States of America, this is yet another example. Olay, your thoughts on this?
And it all speaks to the one fundamental truth in this country, and it's that it's expensive to be poor. It's incredibly expensive to be poor, because that's who experiences the brunt of this. It's unfortunate that in a country that touts itself as a world power, that has so much money, they do not choose to go get money from the pots of those that have it. No. They go and they take it from those who don't have it. They saddle the same communities in generations and generations of debt, because they will contribute $600,000 to the campaigns of these Republicans so that these Republicans could support initiatives that will cost and put poor people in what, $14 billion worth of debt. That's how much money that they're able to make off of these fees. And what they're going to oppose and what they're opposing these Republicans is such a moderate and reasonable policy, because the policy is, hey, instead of letting them charge up to $41 in late fees on credit card, let's make it as low as $8, max it at $8, which is still putting people in an incredible amount of debt. It's still going to be billions of dollars, but it's not enough, because it's a politic of greed. And you'll say to yourself, well, how did they justify this? How is this allowed? How are people okay and comfortable with this? And the reality is, the Republican Party is a party that in plain sight galvanizes around white supremacy at this point. That's just the truth. The people that are impacted most initially, and their voters like to hear impacted, are poor Black and brown people. That's who are hit by this. But importantly here, and I think this is why it's important for us to start talking about class solidarity when we talk about racism and all these structures, because they gonna get you, poor white man, too. You right here. The same way they ignored Flint. You see them ignore Flint. You see how they're going about East Palestine, right? The same way that they're comfortable to go lobby for these against these consumer protections, because it'll hurt Black people, but it'll hurt you too.
Come on, that part, Olay, that part. We do need class solidarity. That's what we're trying to tell you. See, Olay did a story yesterday about these regulators and what was happening with the banks failing. Yeah. And what I said yesterday, y'all need to put some Black mamas up in there and be in charge of this stuff, because we'll gather some people and get it together.
Yes,
okay, Big Mama will gather some folks. And this is the same spirit. I think, hearing you say that, it reminds me of Fannie Lou Hamer, the great Fannie Lou Hamer from the great state of Mississippi, when that burden of poverty and the hatred and the bigotry within the Democratic Party, she partnered with poor white people. They catching the same kind of hell.
Yes.
And if you Black, it's just an extra on that hell. But they got together and formed their own party.
And it's incredibly systemic. It operates itself as a gatekeeper in ways that you don't think. People hear that and they think, okay, even when they hear that, who they think, okay, it's a particular sect of the communities, or it impacts you in one way. But a perfect example, I think, is when I was getting sworn into the bar. A hold up on getting sworn in was me explaining to them why I owed Sprint money in college, something on your collections, right? So it'll keep I interviewed 3 times before they admit me, just explaining previous poverty as a student. I knew nothing but other Black lawyers and law students that had the same experience. So that's the way that you're gatekept, right? Not only will it put you and your family in debt, but it will prevent you from accessing the ways and the different avenues that society allegedly has there to prevent, to allow you to flourish out of that. So I think that's the bigger picture people need to think about. These are not things that you can just circumnavigate, right? Like circumnavigate your way out of.
Yeah, that is so true. And it really makes no sense. You didn't reach this pinnacle and they still questioning you about something that happened in college because you happened to overcome that stuff and they still got it on you.
And I had to tell them I'm broke. I'm like, you want a scholarly answer as to why I didn't pay for it? And I didn't have the money.
Right.
That's
all.
Yes.
Making it plain. Oh my Lord. Anyway, in February, the Consumer Federal Protection Bureau proposed a rule that would limit most credit card late fees to $8, as Olay put out there, down from the $41 companies are currently permitted to charge. Such late fees are a major profit center for credit card companies and cost credit card holders $12 billion in 2020. See, making a profit is one thing, but excessive greed is another. And that's what we got to deal with in this country. So these fees most heavily impact low income communities and, you guessed it, Black communities. And the agency estimates that capping them would save as much as $9 billion would it be a year. Let's take a look at the report from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Shall we? Yes, we shall. Part 1 of this. Prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, consumers had steadily been paying more in credit card late fees each year, peaking at over $14 billion in 2019. Late fees assessed by issuers declined to about $12 billion in 2020. That's still a hell of a profit. That ain't good enough for them, given record high payment rates and public and private relief efforts. Now we call that relief. They only lost $2 billion. And when I use the word loss, I'm using that very, very loosely. Yeah. Now, even during the pandemic, the late fees accounted for over 1/10 of the $120 billion. Okay, y'all following me? Yeah. Consumers paying credit card interest and fees annually. In 2021, late fees were on the rise again.
Yeah, that's how come the poor stay poor. That's how the poor stay poor. That's why the metaphors are what they are for a reason, right? Why we say you're drowning, the poor are drowning, because you literally can't catch up. You can't stay afloat. If you're fine in your bills every time, you're literally being punished for not having the money in the first place. So how are you ever going to be able to do it a second time? Like, it's a country that incentivizes it. You know, if you even look at how corporations are set up in America, right? Something they teach you in law school is the corporation, it's its duty to make money. They will consider it a breach of the duties if you do something that is not gonna make it as much money in the short term. That's why we're all stuck with Elon Musk at Twitter, right? And that's what becomes, right? And rather than a company isn't even allowed, a CEO can't even say, hey, we don't need excessively billions and billions and billions of dollars at the expense of people in the communities. But we have a country of corporation laws that are set up to say, hey, that thought process you had right there, that thought process to protect people at the expense of making additional money, that's a violation of your duties. We have a country that literally creates it. Our law says, hey, your duties are not to people, it's to money always at the expense of the people. And shareholders are not those real individual people you're thinking of in your communities that are people that suffer. They are a special elite group who are gonna get all the money and profit from taking money explicitly from those who don't have it. And it's unfortunate, but it is reality.
Yeah, that's the racket. They can change the rules. The government makes the rules by which people play. They can change the rules of the game anytime they want to. And that greed is killing us, not people making profit, excessive greed. And I often say that if you make your profit off of somebody else's misery, you need to find another way to make a profit. Ain't nobody mad at you for making a profit, but if somebody else gotta suffer so that you can gain, then there's something wrong with the way that you are making the profit. And this laissez-faire type of government that is happening on all levels must stop. Too many people are suffering. So moreover, the Bureau found that the burden of all these fees, as we said, falls disproportionately on the Black community. Card holders with subprime and deep subprime scores are far more likely to incur repeat late fees in any given year than those in the higher credit score tiers, et cetera, et cetera. And the CFPB proposal would eliminate automatic annual increase and require credit card companies to prove hello somebody, that any fees in excess of $8 are necessary to cover their collection costs. It would also prohibit any fees exceeding 25% of the minimum payment due, a welcome change for anyone who's ever been hit with a double-digit penalty on a 50-cent underpayment, and establish a 15-day grace period. Hello, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Now that's how you drive. To quote Martin Lawrence in Bad Boys, or Will Smith, maybe it was Will Smith. To quote Will Smith in Bad, that's how you drive. You let them fools know. Stop playing games with them. And look, don't y'all get seduced by these 17 Republicans. Don't do it. Hold strong to it. Y'all need to come stronger than this. But you know what? We're gonna give y'all a gold star so far. The proposal from the CFPB is good one. Let's hope they continue to push. Now I got a word from the wise on this, because we're gonna keep pushing. What they're doing is immoral. These credit card companies. Hopefully, these rules and regulations will give them a little religion. But to quote the great Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm, when it comes to morality, she laid it out. Let's put it on up here. And what she said, when morality comes up against profit, it's seldom that profit loses. Let's put up a picture of this great fighting, unbought and unbossed. She preached that sermon. Yes, she did, Olay. She preached that sermon. But they got to keep on pushing on this.